A very good morning, friends. Today, I'll be teaching you complex number. कॉम्प्लेक्स सिटीज में हम लोग सुनते हैं वर्ड कॉम्प्लेक्स. कॉम्प्लेक्स क्या है? विलेज में हम कॉम्प्लेक्स नहीं सुनते हैं. विलेज में क्या है? वर्ड व्यवस्था जो है वो पुराने जमाने के हिसाब से रखी गई है. जैसे एक पर्टिकुलर लोकेलिटी में ब्राह्मण्स हैं, दूसरी पर्टिकुलर लोकेलिटी में क्षत्रियास हैं, तीसरी पर्टिकुलर लोकेलिटीज में शूद्र हैं, वैश्य हैं, अलग अलग लोकेलिटीज में. लेकिन कॉम्प्लेक्स वर्ड हम सिटीज में ज्यादा सुनते हैं क्योंकि यहां पर क्या होता है कि एक ही बिल्डिंग में 201 नंबर में कोई जैन परिवार रहता है तो 202 में कोई मुस्लिम मिलेगा, 205 में आपको कोई बंगाली मिल जाएगा. अलग अलग जाति और धर्म के लोग एक ही बिल्डिंग में रहते हैं, एक ही कॉलोनी में रहते हैं. दैट इज व्हाई वी कॉल इट एज व्हाट? कॉम्प्लेक्स. तो बेस्ड ऑन दैट ओनली विल बी लर्निंग कॉम्प्लेक्स नंबर. नंबर दो टाइप के होते हैं. एक होता है रियल, जिसको कहते हैं हिंदी में वास्तविक, और दूसरा होता है इमेजिनरी, काल्पनिक. जब वास्तविक और काल्पनिक को मिला दिया जाए तो हमको क्या मिलता है? कॉम्प्लेक्स. व्हाट इज कॉम्प्लेक्स नंबर? विल बी डीलिंग विद दैट. कॉम्प्लेक्स नंबर क्या है? इट इज कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ रियल एंड इमेजिनरी. तो आज की टॉपिक का हेडिंग है कॉम्प्लेक्स नंबर. What is complex number? What is definition? A number of the type a plus ib, where AB belongs to real number and I is equal to square root of -1 is imaginary number. Known as iota. Such number is called complex number. Mainly it is denoted as Z. Therefore, Z is what? A plus IB. In this case, A is called real part. Actually है दोनों real numbers, लेकिन A which is free from I is known as real part and B which is attached to I is known as imaginary part. In this case, A is known as real part and B is known as imaginary part. Therefore, real part is denoted as REZ is A and imaginary part is denoted as in is equal to b. Point number 1, if a is 0, then z will become what? IB, which is purely imaginary. If b is equal to 0, then z will become what? A, which is purely real. प्योरली रियल होने के लिए इमेजिनरी पार्ट 0 हो जाएगा और प्योरली इमेजिनरी होने के लिए रियल पार्ट 0 हो जाएगा. एंड थर्ड, if a not equal to 0 and b not equal to 0, then z will be what? A plus ib is a complex number. Now complex number में we are learning a very new thing, that is what? Iota, I. So we will go to what? Different powers of I. Powers of I. I is what? Square root of -1. Therefore, I square will be what? Root of -1 square, which is -1. Square root or square will get cancelled, you'll get -1. I cube is what? I square into I, -1 into I, minus I. I raised to 4 is what? I square square -1 square 1. I raised to 5 is what? I raised to 4 into I, 1 into I will give you I. I raised to any power we can find out like this. I raised to suppose 100 है, which is even power. इसको हम लोग लिख लेंगे I square raised to 50 and I square is what? -1 raised to 50 will be +1. I raised to 777, इसको फाइंड करना है तो नियरेस्ट एंड प्रीवियस इवन पावर में कन्वर्ट करेंगे। तो I raised to 776 इंटू आई। अब इवन पावर को हम लोग लिख लेंगे I square is -1 raised to 388 into I, which is what? +1 into I is equal to I. Same way, if we have to find out 1 upon I, 1 upon I, so whenever I is in denominator, will convert power of I even. तो I का पावर इवन करने के लिए क्या करेंगे? मल्टीप्लाई डिवाइड बाय I कर लेंगे। I square is what? -1 will give -I. If it is 1 upon I square, 1 upon -1. If it is 1 upon I raised to 3, इसको इवन करेंगे I upon I raised to 4. I upon I square square, I upon -1 square, I upon 1, which is what? I, and so on. So whenever in denominator power is what? Odd, we multiply divide by I to make even power, and then we can find out denominator. So in short, I'll give you a simple technique to find out any power of I. You can see any power of I is what? Either +1 or -1, plus I or minus I. Any power of I. I raised to n is +1 if n is even number divisible by 4. I raised to n is -1 if n is even number but not divisible by 4. The next is I raised to n is what? I if n is odd number and n - 1 is यानी प्रीवियस n के पहले वाला पावर, जैसे 100 है वो तो इवन नंबर है, 101 है तो 101 के पहले क्या है? 100, 100 जो है यानी n - 1 इज व्हाट? डिविजिबल बाई 4 हो। डिविजिबल बाई और I raised to n becomes -I if n is odd power, odd number and previous even power, that is n - 1, is not divisible by 4. We'll go to what? Algebra of complex numbers. अलजेब्रा का मतलब होता है एडिशन, सब्ट्रैक्शन, मल्टीप्लिकेशन एंड डिवीजन. So now we'll be learning addition, subtraction, multiplication and division of complex number. Let कॉम्प्लेक्स नंबर को z से डिनोट करते हैं और दो कॉम्प्लेक्स नंबर है तो z1 z2 ले लेंगे. लेट z1 is equal to a plus ib and z2 is equal to c plus id be two complex numbers where a b c d belongs to real number and I is what? Root of -1. Then number 1, addition. How do we add two complex number? Z1 plus Z2 is what? A plus IB plus C plus ID. So we'll give you what? A plus IB plus C plus ID. A plus C plus IB plus ID B plus D into I common. So how do we add two complex number? Their real parts are added together and their imaginary parts are added together. This is addition. Second is what? Subtraction. Z1 minus Z2 is what? A plus IB minus C plus ID. Open the bracket. A plus IB minus C minus ID. A minus C you take together. Between IB and minus ID take I common. So you'll get B minus D into I. So how do we subtract two complex number? The real parts are subtracted plus their imaginary parts are subtracted. Third one is multiplication. Z1 into Z2 is what? A plus IB into C plus ID. Now multiply real parts together. A into C, then A into ID, so IAD, IB into C, IBC, then IB into ID plus I square BD. AC plus, between these two you take I common. AD plus BC, and you know I square is what? -1 into BD. which is equal to AC plus AD minus B, AD plus BC into I minus BD, which will give you AC minus BD plus I into AD plus BC. This is multiplication of two complex numbers. Before division, we must know one very important heading, that is complex conjugate, which we will be using in division. So next heading is what? Complex conjugate. Let Z is equal to A plus IB be any complex number where AB belongs to real number and I is what? Root of minus 1. Complex conjugate of Z is denoted as Z bar and is defined as Z bar is what? A minus IB. So whenever we have to write complex conjugate, then we change sign of imaginary part only. Real part keep as it is. Just change sign of imaginary part. Z minus IB. Z is what? Sorry, Z bar is what? A minus IB. Now next heading is what? Division. Z1 upon Z2 is what? A plus IB upon C plus ID. Our aim is what? To make denominator free from I. हमारा एम क्या है? डिवीजन में डिनोमिनेटर में I नहीं होना चाहिए. तो I को एलिमिनेट करने के लिए we will multiply divide by complex conjugate of denominator. Only complex conjugate will eliminate I. See how? A plus IB upon C plus ID. Complex conjugate of C plus ID is what? C minus ID upon C minus ID. Now we will multiply numerator with numerator and denominator with denominator. It is multiplication and you know how to multiply. A into C, AC, A into minus ID, minus ADI, then IB into C, BCI, then IB into minus ID, minus I square BD. Whereas in denominator it is what? X plus y into x minus y type. So it is what? X square minus y square. AC प्लस इन दोनों में I कॉमन ले लेंगे तो BC माइनस AD into I, and you know I square is what? Minus 1. Minus is there, minus 1 into BD divided by C square minus minus 1 into D square. Reason is what? Since I square is what? Minus 1, which is nothing but AC plus BC minus AD into I plus BD upon C square plus AC plus BD will take together divided by C square plus D square plus BC minus AD divided by C square plus D square into I bond. So this is division of two complex numbers. Now we'll go to reciprocal of complex number. But before reciprocal, what is modulus of complex number, that you understand. Let Z is equal to A plus IB be any complex number where AB belongs to real number and I is what? Is square root of minus 1. Modulus of Z is denoted as mod Z and is defined as mod Z is what? Square root of real part square plus imaginary part square. This is modulus of complex number Z. The next heading is reciprocal of complex number. Let Z is equal to A plus IB be any complex number where AB belongs to real number and I is what? Root of minus 1. Reciprocal of Z is denoted as Z bar and is defined as is denoted as 1 upon Z and is defined as 1 upon Z is what? 1 upon A plus IB, and now this is division. So 1 upon A plus IB multiply divided by A minus IB, that is conjugate of denominator. So this will give you what? A minus IB upon denominator will be what? X plus y into x minus y type. So A square minus I square a minus ib upon a square plus b square, reason since I square is what? Minus 1. And a minus ib is what? Z conjugate upon a square plus b square is what? Modulus z square. So this becomes formula for reciprocal of a complex number. Then next is equality of two complex numbers. Equality of two complex numbers. Let Z1 is equal to a plus ib and Z2 is equal to c plus id be two complex numbers where a, b, c, d belongs to real number and I is what? Is square root of minus 1. Then Z1 is equal to Z2 implies a plus ib c plus id. So this implies a must be equal to c and b must be equal to d. That means their real parts are equal and their imaginary parts are equal. Note, comparison of two complex numbers is not possible. That is Z1 greater than Z2 or Z2 greater than Z1 is not possible.